podcast, the space where creativity meets conscious well being. I'm your host, Sana, and today we are diving into the vibrant intersection of art, technology, and mental health with Rachel Vancelette. She's a curator, art tech entrepreneur, and co author with actor artist Billy Zane of the brand new coffee table volume, A Curator's Sketchbook. Part travel diary, part behind the scenes peek at the Odyssey exhibition on the French Riviera, the book invites readers to see how curating can become a mindful voyage of its own. So, listeners, Rachel's decades long career spans Vogue Italia columns, TV hosting on In the Pursuit of Art, fashion, technology, and also mobilizing 180 plus artists from the for the pandemic era, art into puzzles, fundraiser, which was all driven by a belief that art can heal individuals and communities alike. So, listeners, let's get quickly into this beautiful conversation. So, with that, Rachel, welcome to the show, and it is such an honor to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Thanks for taking the time, and I'm excited.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, Rachel, before even we talk about your book, your and Billy's book, how exactly do you see art becoming as something which can heal individuals and communities, and also how it can be tied up with mindfulness?
Well, my journey has been, a long one. I've nurtured and worked with artists for a number of years, multiple decades now. And through that, I realized that my own personal journey, a lot of the time I would spend, when I was going through something very difficult, I would spend a lot of time in the museums. So from a young child, I was brought to museums, and what I would stand and contemplate in front of art. And I really have always believed in the power of art and the fact that I believe it has the power to there's a great mindfulness in the idea of sitting and being with a piece of art. And so for me, on a personal level, I've gone through some, pretty difficult times in the last few months, and it really brought me back to standing in front of a beautiful painting in a museum. So for me, I feel that that's a really powerful tool for people. Scientists and neurologists now have really come out with scientific proof that it raises our dopamine levels, that there's a sense of calm and peace that comes with that, that sometimes even viewing a piece of art for less than a minute can evoke feelings of love and compassion. So these are things that I've followed throughout my career, and I really believe that art has the power to heal. Art has the power to bring community together. I've seen it through, you mentioned my arts and puzzles project that I did during the pandemic. Even though we were all separated, the project itself brought people together to surround themselves at tables to puzzle pieces together that were a piece of art that maybe they wouldn't be able to go out and see, and it brought it into their homes. And so the power of these things are tools, and I think it can be overlooked at times. And so for me, it's very important to remind people to think about these things as they're going through their own journeys. Times are not always easy, and sometimes we need a place of contemplation, and it's a reflection of mindfulness as well. And however you perceive it, meditation, experience, creative impact.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is really beautiful. That is such a beautiful explanation, Rachel. Okay,
Thank you.
so now let's talk about your book. So your book is titled Curator's Sketchbook. So, what sketch in your mind sparked the collaboration with Billy Zane? I mean, what is the story behind this, and how did that initial idea evolve?
Well, when you think about creatives, I mean, people come in all packages. So when we think about creative people, sometimes they do more than one thing. For instance, Billy Zane is a painter. He likes to paint. He enjoys the process of painting, but many people know him for his acting skills or for him in entertainment in Hollywood. Um, he's a very passionate painter, has done it throughout all of his career, different sets from the time he was on the Titanic, to other movie sets throughout his career. And he did it as a process for himself, an escape, a way to find a space for himself when he was doing these different projects. And I found that really interesting. And we became friends a few years ago. And he's, some part of a tech incubator. He's a creative mind. And on top of that, I met Diane Detal, who is a French artist, and she was brought to me by another friend of mine who's an art dealer, a long time friend of many years. And she was at a place in her career where she wasn't sure she would continue to paint. She had had a lot of loss and tragedy in her life, from family members passing. And I found that her work evoked a really powerful message for people that are going through loss. And so between her and Billy, I ended up introducing both of them by chance at an art fair. And at that time, Diane had an invitation to do an exhibition. So we decided, she actually invited Billy to the exhibition, said, "Why don't you join me for this exhibition I'm doing in the south of France?" And then became a journey. When I titled the show, it's called Odyssey, which is, if you look at Homer or poetry that's about Odyssey, it's really about a return. It's a return to self. It's a return to the shores that you may have grown up on. There's lot of different metaphors in that. So we created this book based on the journey of what we took along the way for this exhibition. Billy, who was returning back to Cannes Film Festival many times throughout his career, from the beginning of his career, which is in the south of France, and 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 Diane, who had grown up there but had lived all over the world and had not returned back to show her artwork. So when the book came into play, it was really about bringing something that was a diary, an insider view of the creation of the curated show, but also a capsule of kind of what we experienced there. Um, the south of France and where the location was is a creative hub for many people. There's been Winston Churchill painted there. Elizabeth Taylor spent time there. People from Chanel to Matisse to Picasso. All these artists have spent time in this region. So the book really became an amalgamation of the history as well as the currency of like what's happening today in the art world, and how we can impact community. So it was a city show, meaning that it was in a space that was given to us by the city. It wasn't a traditional art gallery or anything like that. And so we had to really build a space that, we could create that could bring the community in. And it was also on the 120th anniversary of the city of St. John Cap Ferrat. The mayor was very supportive of the show. And so we created this book a year, it's come out a year later, but it's historical and I feel like it's an important thing. When you ask me if it's called a sketchbook, a lot of it's about, the diary of what happened there. And I think, like many people in the community of mindfulness or meditation or self-care and self-healing, it's really about journaling. And so this became kind of my private journal that became public. So yeah.
Yeah, I really love this, because yes, it definitely is journaling. And as I mean, I have met with people who use reflective writing for mental clarity. So, uh, did the sketchbook, Rachel, the sketchbook format change your own sense of presence? I mean, while on the site in St. John Cap Ferrat?
Yeah, I think, when you are a curator and you're working with creatives and you're trying to make an impact on the world, you're such in a rush to put the exhibition together, to have the audience come, and you make the champagnes there and everyone's happy. And then it's over, So it's always a time of, a period. And so for me, sitting back and taking notes, creating a sketchbook, as I would say for myself, which is a diary, but in some regard was a sketchbook as well, remembering dinners, times with people, the impact of why we were there originally. I think sometimes you can forget along life, like what your intent is. Why are you there? What's feeding you? And for me, putting creatives together collaboratively as well as putting people that have a creative sense to give back to the world, I think is really important. I mean, I developed a company called Expert for that reason that comes out of the Arts and Puzzles project, which is for creatives to spend time with each other and collaborate, but also to earn money for their time and their efforts. And for me, creativity is so vital right now, and there's a huge healing component in that. I think people really still crave, even within themselves, the creative essence to do something, whether that's writing in a sketchbook, drawing something, singing to your daughter, just anything that can give you this sense of peace is really important to me, and so that's what I hope in my career that I can bring to other people.
Mm, that's beautiful. And as I mentioned about intros, intro expert, so what I mean, since this platform aims to connect creatives through one-to-one video, so what have you learned about digital intimacy that brick and mortar galleries they can't replicate?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, we came out of the pandemic and we were kind of fatigued, obviously, from technology. Um, Intro Expert was something I wanted to do over a decade ago. I had drafted it out and really wanted it to happen, but technology had not really been up to speed for it. Um, and what I've really learned about the connectivity of community through both arts and puzzles as well as Intro Expert is I'm always profoundly affected when I see people connect together in real life, but also there's been a profound connection on technology. If you look at technology as the branch that gets the platform, for instance, you and I today on this podcast, and we're not
Mhm.
sitting in the same room, we exchange a certain energy, a certain level of communication, a certain knowledge that I can learn from you and me, back and forth. And I think that's really important in this day and age with technology moving so fast and the advent of AI and all these other things. They are tools, but there's still something to the human hand, the human creative spirit. And Interexpert's really about an exchange. It's also, there's people that you want to access and you want to understand how they do what they do. I may never be a great painter, but I certainly might want to speak to somebody and understand their process, or maybe even try to do what they do and see maybe I could do something similar, maybe not the same. So we have really great people on the platform, from top music executives to people that are chefs that have been on Top Chef, to wellness categories of people doing numerology to different kinds of healing. We also have people that are artists. So it's a vast range. It's over 40 categories of creativity. And so when you think about putting people together in a community and how you can raise money for charity, you can give back. You can also earn for your time to support your business. I think in today's world, it's really important, especially globally, where we aren't traveling. Some people are not traveling as much. Some places are difficult to travel to, and so we're all able to connect. So it's technologists would say we're all technology. Humanists would say we're all human, but are we? We're all kind of connected by these branches through the internet and technology, but also through the human experience. So I do think in real life experiences are really important as well. And we are incorporating those things into Intro Expert as well. But I think it's exciting if I'm able to go visit an art studio that's, in Australia, and have an experience where they take me through their studio, because I may never get on a plane and go to Australia. So these are the things that I find very interesting. And I also think it's a voice that needs to be carried a lot of times through my experience. Creatives haven't had their voice. They often have an art dealer or a gallery speak on their behalf, because art is risky. Art has this, innate separation from the human itself because the art goes out into the world. So I think it's a nice thing to be able to have the creative be able to speak if they want to on their own about what their creative process is. So yeah.
Absolutely makes sense. And I've noticed this that listeners they feel calmer when they see artists speaking directly to them on screen. So, how do you balance that soothing human connection with the fast pace of tech, of course?
Well, I think it's about, for me and building Intro Expert, I really wanted a curated experience. So I really think when you think about people connecting through a screen or technology, that both parties participate in that. So when you have someone like a creative curate a session that says, "Hi, I'm going to show you my, for instance, Billy or anybody else, like, I'm going to show you behind the scenes of what I do every day." Those things are really, they're special. You're gaining access to something very intimate for that human, and that person. And then on the reflective of that, on the other side, that person may have needs or questions that they want to have fulfilled. So I think just like podcasting, you're reaching yourself a huge community of people that might tune in, and you might just change their day by giving them something visual as well as audio. So I think the impact is wide. I think people think technology is against us sometimes when it's actually kind of, if we look at it as a tool to help us, it becomes beneficial. And back to your point, like when you do go to a movie and you go to the screen and there's a fulfillment of visually being fulfilled by them. Again, it goes back to this idea that visually we are human creatures, and scientifically they've said this gi gives a reaction in our brain. Neuroscientists are studying it, to understand why this calming effect comes over us in certain situations. So I think all is valid, but within reason. I think the speed of technology and the fast pace that we live, um, why mindfulness is so important to me is it slows you down. It takes that moment for you to take time for your own healing and self-care. And those things are valid and important in today's world, I think.
Mm, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you, Rachel. Okay, and a little bit from the business perspective. So, you raised a reported $10 million to scale Intro Expert. So, what mindset shifts helped you bridge the art world's narrative focus with the investor's ROI language?
Well, we're in the process. So we're in the process of the raise. We have not completely raised at the moment. So we're still working on that. So anyone listening, please let us know. I do think it's really important to understand that education is a valid key component right now that we all need in the AI space. And I only mean that in the way that AI has sped everything up for us, and obviously informs us at an incremental space, but we're also talking about safe AI. And I think investors understand this, that we have to have a bridge of safe artificial intelligence as well as human intelligence. And so the goal, and in us looking at investors and people who come in, is really to build a bridge, to have a human in loop concept that still validates and still confirms the artist creative process. Um, Partly because artificial intelligence is moving so fast. There's been a lot of pushback in the creative community also as well about it taking ideas from other people or calibrating someone's paintings. And so for me, in terms of like how we're building this community, we really want to make sure that the human still has its final, truth factor in some of these ideas. So, and in building that community, we only hope it grows and continues to bring authentication to creative processes, anything from music to a chef's recipe to a painter. These are important things. So yes, in terms of our investment rounds and speaking to investors, it's really important for them to understand the crucial component we have right now, and trying to make sure creatives have their say in their space, and have autonomy over their work. So
Mhm. Well, all the best to you, Rachel, for the investment, of course. And before we wrap up, if our listeners would like to connect with you and explore more about, your journey, Billy Zane's journey, and a curator's sketchbook, and then your platform into expert, what's the best way?
You can find I mean, I run a company called Vancelette Global Art Exhibition or sorry, Vancelette Global Art Acquisitions, and, you can find a lot of information at vancelette.com, but you can also buy the book. It's currently at snapcollective.com. The book is available for sale, so it's accessible to anyone who wants to come and purchase the book. And feel free to reach out. My Instagram is rvancelette, and you can DM me and send me a message, and we're happy to, respond. You know, I mean, mindfulness is such an important thing, and we all have to observe everything around us and our surroundings and, pay attention to the here and now. So I think it's really important that, if you feel like they want to reach out or connect with the community, introexpert.com is also the other platform, and you can go online, take a look, see what our mission statement is, visit some of our experts, and feel free to reach out to us if you have thoughts, feedback, suggestions. We're very open. So
Okay. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes. And Rachel, thank you so, so much for this enriching exploration of how curatorship, technology, and overall mindful practice they can co-create spaces for healing. So thanks a lot for this conversation.
yeah, thank you, and I appreciate your platform, and we want to make sure that we continue to shout you out because your Healthy Mind podcast is really important to the world. So thank you for creating the space for all of us.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for your kind words. Thank you. And all of my beautiful mindful listeners, if today's conversation sparked curiosity within you, you can leaf through a curator's sketchbook via Snap Collective and also follow Rachel's Art Tech Adventures on Intro Expert. Just refer to the show notes with all the links. Until next time, keep living and creating, but mindfully. Thank you.